I'm like, are we supposed to be smiling? Because I'm not
Yeah, you got to look. Don't you love your job?
I do love my job.
Yeah, well, therefore you're smiling.
Want to eat some jerky?
I've already had some jerky, thanks very much.
Jobs Australia exists because of our members, as we know. That's what we do every day. The reason we go to work is because our jobs, whatever job we've got, is about the members. The idea of the road trip has been around since I started in my role as the CEO, that the board wanted me to meet members, to engage with members, and to actually get to know and understand what members are about. For me, that felt really aligned with, if I'm going to be the CEO of an organisation that represents members, how can I do that if I don't understand what they do? So meeting the real people, doing the real work about what our membership organisations do, are about and who they're for, takes engagement, takes meeting them, takes the conversations. Otherwise, how do I get it? I need to be able to get what they do. Doing that is best done when I meet people. I like people. I like them, and the word engage seems to be overused in our conversations over the last week, but it's about building relationships. It's about that getting to know each other. It's about sharing stories. It's about telling truths. It's about really connecting with what we do, for who and what for. And so I love that aspect of it. Because we started with a dialogue with somebody at Fitzroy Crossing, I looked at where that was actually positioned. I'd never been to this part of Australia, so I had to actually pull out a map and say, okay, where is Fitzroy Crossing? What's its neighbour? What's it close to? What road is it on? And do we have other members across that area, that region or that district? So when I looked at the map and saw where Fitzroy Crossing was, it made sense that if we started in Darwin, flew into Darwin, picked up a car and drove down to Katherine. We visited two organisations, both of whom were unable to spend any time with us or any great deal of time on this journey. From Katherine we went across to Kununurra, and there's a significantly big-sized organisation in Kununurra that has quite a substantial area delivering CDP. In Kununurra we met with the organisation East Kimberley Job Pathways. The CEO and several of the staff were introduced to us, and we were escorted, hosted and taken around by the CEO. That in itself is so fantastic that people who are incredibly busy, incredibly time poor, and who have really full days, work days every day, for them to give up time, I'm always really grateful and respectful for. It's not truly CDP, but it's the essence of making an opportunity available for everyone.
Yeah, I think so, because whilst the Work First program, absolutely we've got to get people jobs. It's really expanding on the community development aspect.
Yeah.
And hence the social fabric of a community, you start to address health and wellbeing and everything else. And that all then leads to, bigger and better things. One's Johnny, he's away at the moment, otherwise we would have met him this morning, Johnny Martin, who was our first employee through Revive, who's now a full-time team leader. He's moved to town, addressed a lot of his issues. It's great for his family. His kids love him. He's really good for the kids. Somebody this morning, I said we wanted to come and meet real people doing real work, and I genuinely mean that. That's what I think Jobs Australia's membership and our representation of membership's about, that we can actually be sharing your story. So we were able to meet up with the CEO, taken around, given a quick cook's tour of the town, and then taken to some of their buildings, for the want of a better word. Some were offices, some were facilities, some were where activities actually happened, some were yards. So really got to have a look around the different types of activities and enterprise, for the want of a better word, that they were actually undertaking. EKJP, East Kimberley Job Pathways, we were unable to spend a lot of time going to long distance or travelling long distances to go to some of their other sites. But the fact that they have such a broad geographical spread
shows and highlights to us the tyranny of distance and the challenges that many of these organisations, many of our member organisations have, because some of the communities that they're supporting may only have 30 or 40 participants, but maybe 300 or 400 kilometres away from the head office. So I think that's a really important aspect that often those of us in urban and metro and city areas forget to remember. And I think that's a really important thing that we have to acknowledge when we start to go out into rural, remote and isolated environments where many of our members are doing great work and doing amazing support and working with participants in extraordinary conditions. In Halls Creek, EKJP from Kununurra had another site, another community, and we met with some of the staff who were working in Halls Creek. We went to their office and were given an overview of the program specific to Halls Creek. And that's another aspect of what is so fantastic for Jobs Australia to understand, that whilst it might be one organisation but have many sites or many offices or be present in many communities, so often it's just that little bit different to give each site its uniqueness. So the adaptability of the organisation to instill the program in a way that it meets local community needs can't be underestimated and can't be undervalued. It really needs to be acknowledged how well the people in the different areas adapt the program to meet the needs of the local community, especially in communities like Indigenous communities, where culturally and historically and geographically and so many things that influence the way that they in their mob are, because each mob is a little different, and that was extremely well highlighted to us, or to me especially, on this journey. So in Halls Creek we met with a number of staff. We were able to go around and have a look at the town. We were also able to have a look at some of the things and some of the activities that are actually out in natural geographical environments and some of the work that gets done in those communities, and that was extraordinary. To see the red dust and the mountains were just awesome. In Halls Creek we were also invited into a workshop, but here in particular they'd been focusing on pottery, and some of the work that the women were doing was creative, colourful, and it was inspired by their life, by what they understood about their country and their land. And one woman in particular that I spoke with, she was making coffee cups, and it was the first time she had made any pottery whatsoever. I would have bought them if they had been fired in the kiln. So we arrived in Fitzroy Crossing and we met with the Chief Operating Officer, Human Relations person from Marra, the organisation based in Fitzroy Crossing.
I'm Richard Butler. I head the Community Development Program and the Employment Program for Marra Aboriginal Corporation here in Fitzroy Crossing and in what's known as Region 12, which are the communities that lie from Kimberley in the west through to Ely community in the east.
Hi, I'm Murray. I'm the Business Development Manager at Marra, and I take care of our business projects that we undertake here. One of them is the recycling program, where we collect recycling from around the town, and I also take care of some aquaponics. So you probably don't know what aquaponics is, but it's basically a sustainable way of growing food and fish together. So it's an aquaculture system hooked together with the hydroponic system. And the basics of it is the waste that comes from the fish, instead of just processing it through filters like a normal aquaculture system, we process it through the garden bed, which is essentially a filter. And then that provides nutrients for the plants to grow. It's as simple as that.
So Richard was saying that this is a pilot that this is the test ground.
Yes.
So how do you, what's the point when you'll say, right, we've been really successful with this, let's get going and make this bigger on a grander scale?
Well, I think I've approached it more as a learning tool and a training tool.
We were invited to meet with one of the workers for Marra Warra Warra, who is an incredible man who just has an affinity for the land. A white fella who works with quite a few of the local communities and is obviously highly respected by the staff of Marra Warra Warra and also really respected by the Indigenous in the communities. In Broome, we knew of another organisation that was here, a very well-known and very respected and regarded organisation called Kulari, and again delivering CDP, and Kulari also delivers Parents Next. So we were given the opportunity to meet with the CEO and to meet with staff. We were shown around their new premises in Broome, and interestingly their setup was a little different to the other organisations. So the head office for Kulari is situated here in Broome, but the communities that they work with are further out. So they actually aren't doing the program for people that live in Broome for the CDP. They're actually going to communities much further out. And again, the tyranny of distance, the time it takes to get to the communities, the work that they're delivering and what they're doing was quite extraordinary as well. And it was fantastic again to meet yet another Indigenous leader in a position of leadership in the organisation doing great work with the community and with their people. So today we head home to Melbourne, leaving Broome in a couple of hours after I think it's nearly 9 days on the road, maybe 2,400 kilometres, not quite sure, have to look at the speedo. But this has been an enormous trip. The distance, the time, the energy, everything about this trip has been enormous. My heart is filled with so much gratitude for what people have shared with us, the generosity of time and spirit that they've been able to willingly and generously give to us, and the knowledge and the incredible awareness that I'm now taking back with me that absolutely gives me the energy to keep doing what we do at JA in representing our members. Intertwined and woven into all that is stories from members helping us understand what they need from us in the future as we represent them as our members. And that's incredibly valuable, and that to me adds up to success.
Shutterstock Music.